Good morning, folks. I'm Sean, citizen in the lunatic asylum called Ireland. Anybody who scrolls through social media nowadays can see that every week that passes, there is an increasing number of anti-invasion, anti-immigrant videos. Some of them quite informative, but all of them asking and demanding that their governments stop and bring a standstill to the current regime, which permits so many people to come into Europe from Africa and the Middle East. I was living in Puerto Rico a few years ago during the epidemic. A lot of people came from North Africa there and Algeria, Morocco, etc. And while I was there, there were a group of 4 people who had been put up in apartments and apart hotels by the happy hoteliers, who were very pleased to fill the hotels when all travel was come to a halt and no tourists were coming to the Canary Islands. But I was there in Puerto Rico in that tourist resort when it was in the papers that a young girl walking through a nearby park stopped and spoke to 4 teenagers or youngsters in their early 20s from North Africa, and she was gang raped. Now, nobody likes to hear these horrific stories, but I'm just scrolling through the web tonight and I have 2 interesting videos that I would like you to just have a look at. And number 1, as follows.
I'm going to do something which most journalists and presenters wouldn't dare do. That is going down the route of a particularly taboo story that is close to my heart, shall we say. And I'll tell you why. Is it particularly close to my heart? Because to coin a favourite phrase of the left wing, it has been my lived experience over the past 3 years or so that a lot of crimes happening against women especially seem to be committed by people who aren't from this country. I've been followed home with a man in one of those Afghan colpole hats chuntering away in some language. All the way to my front door, I had to hide in my neighbour's house and pretend I didn't live in my house because he was lurking around outside trying to do indecent things to himself. That's right. I've also had my phone robbed off me by a Roma woman with a scarf on. And I'm like, yeah, what are we doing here? Who are these people? Why are we importing all this stuff? I cannot walk down the streets where I live anymore without weird men leering at me, making comments. Look, I'm not one of these Me Too movement women. When it was builders whistling, wolf whistling from vans, I don't care. Sometimes it brightens up your day. Because what they don't do is they don't get into your personal space. They don't trail you. They don't physically approach you. They don't follow you to your front door. It's a very different sort of more harmless thing, a wolf whistle, than some of the stuff I'm being subjected to now. And some of the stuff my best mate who lives around the corner, again, her lived experience. Also, guess what? A woman with long blonde hair. She has 4 teenage daughters. All of them now have at some point been sexually assaulted. They have been groped, they have been followed. They are scared living in London. What is going on? So I am going to keep talking about this. I don't care if people turn around and goes, you're a wafist, because my safety and the safety of women in this country is paramount. That is way more important than offending certain communities who, quite frankly, have men with medieval values when it comes to women, and I ain't standing for it. So I'm going to keep on this subject. Now, one thing I think we need to do in this country is publish statistics on crime by nationality. We don't do it. Apparently we don't keep them. We're too lily-livered. Oh, we keep statistics on the victims of crime by nationality, so we can turn around and go, oh, look, it's all poor people who are not from here being targeted. What about the fact that actually, if you look on, there's this brilliant website about organised crime around the world, The contributors to that are people like the CIA, Interpol, Europol, and they've got all the stats of who's committing crime where in what countries. It's an amazing deep dive. You can sort of go onto this map and zoom in on a particular nation. It explains all the sort of trends and patterns. About 90% of our organised crime was being committed by Albanians. I mean, for crying out loud, what are we importing? Now, countries that do actually publish their statistics, Scandinavian countries, I've got some of them here, and so I want to sort of run you through a bit of this. Now, Denmark increased its level of non-Western born immigrants between 2020 and 2023 by a staggering 158%. 158%. Turns out, at the same time, crime went up by 31%. Is there a correlation? Well, sex offences went up by 248%. And when you look at their league tables, the vast majority of those sexual offences are being committed by men who were not born in Sweden. They weren't even born in European countries or Western countries. That was Denmark, sorry. Now, Sweden, in that same period, their level of non-Western immigration went up by 86%. Overall crime went up by 24%. Is there a correlation? Well, I don't know. Rape went up by 359%. Even the Prime Minister of Sweden has turned around and said, you know, perhaps we were a bit naive when it came to our immigration policy. So there you go. These countries do publish league tables of who's committing crimes by nationality, and believe me, it makes for stark reading. We need to do that in this country, because if we're not honest with ourselves and the situation we're in, people like me are at risk. When I get the tube home to West London from East London, I am at risk, and I don't want to live in a country that doesn't value my safety enough to have this conversation. Now, a country that might find that this is soon going to be in train is Ireland, because they had 3.8 million as a population, and that's staggeringly gone up to 5.3 million in just a matter of years because of, yep, you guessed it, loads of inward migration, a 39% increase in non-Western migrants. And get his thoughts on this. Herman, how are you doing?
Hello, Alex. Great to see you.
Yeah, well, great to see
you know what?
you.
It is very brave of you to talk about this, because we both know it's very un-PC to do so. But I believe it's more important to be factually correct than to be politically correct, because the lives of people, like I have 4 daughters, and I can tell you for myself, a number of years ago, 2 miles from my home here in County Louth in Ireland, a convicted rapist, a guy called, Roman Crock. He was convicted of attempted rape of a 14-year-old girl in Derby a number of years ago. And when he came out of jail, I think he was in jail for a year and a half, where did he come? He came to Dunleer in County Louth because his mother had been given a free social house in the middle of the town. A convicted rapist. And of course, when he arrived, there was a huge increase in burglaries in the area until he was caught. Until a number of neighbours, and actually the local police did a very good job, caught the guy. He got 8 months in jail, and he got so much hassle out locally that he decided once he got out of jail he was leaving Ireland completely. But there has been a huge increase in sexual assault, in crime, over the last number of years.
The thing that it seems to me that we're still not talking about, and this is despite the exposure of grooming gangs in this country. Every time I read the newspaper now, and I follow the news across Europe, there seems to have been a rape gang operating in Brussels or operating in Paris. The amount of young girls now who seem to be being raped by, it's actually called the lover boy technique, I think, usually Somalian gangs, not always, North African gangs as well. The amount of young girls now falling victim to gang rape. Gang rape, that is one of the most horrific things that can happen to a little girl, and almost every single time these gangs are coming from countries who, to put it in a mild manner, don't share our cultural values.
I think people have to begin to be honest and call it what it is, because if, as you say, if we look at the ethnicity and culture and religion, let's talk what it is. It's a Muslim, Islamic religion of these people. They're normally Algerian, Pakistani, Somalian, almost without exception, all across England and various other countries as well. And it's rape jihad is what is going on. It is the damage to young girls and the humiliation of men within their culture as well, to come in to dominate and say, we're in charge now. That's what it's about.
Now, let's talk a bit, and I always have to do sort of disclaimer, little asterisks, and say, you know, clearly not all Muslim men behave like this. But I think you're absolutely right in pointing out the common denominator with those countries that we are listing is that religion, or some of the cultural practices connected to that religion. I mean, let's not forget women in Iran aren't exactly having a lovely time, and the Taliban happily lob rocks at women accused of adultery and so forth. I mean, it's not exactly brand new information to people to say a lot of Muslim countries treat women pretty appallingly. But let's look at what's going on in Ireland now, because, you know, we think we've got a problem here in the UK when it comes to illegal immigration, the people coming over on boats. In Ireland, some of the scenes you're seeing in Dublin with these tent cities are absolutely out of control.
And that is what you're seeing in the tent cities is only the tip of the iceberg, because that's people living on the street. But the really serious problem is, one is a huge lack of housing, which has come about, and two is the increase in criminality, serious criminality. Now, between 2022 and 2023,
we just lost Herman then. I wanted to know what happened between 2022 and 2023. You still there, Herm? There he is.
Yes, happy days. Between in 1 year, there was like almost a 50% increase in murder. When you have a very sharp increase in the number of unvetted males, you don't know these people coming in, you don't know their name, you don't know who they are, like, you don't know where they're from, you don't know if they have a criminal record. Now, would you believe that 85% of people who apply for asylum in Ireland at Dublin Airport, 85% claim that they've lost their passport between getting on the plane and getting off at Dublin Airport? So they're coming into the country lying to us. So they've already lied to us. And you know what? You have a large number of young males from any culture with nothing to do, hanging around all day, maybe drinking, etc. There's going to be trouble. And in Ireland, look, we've got to stop this practice of naivety or self-deception.